Hello, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. And we have another Seahawks video to get to today. But before we jump into the football content, we just hit 1,420 subscribers to the YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all my new subscribers and my continuing old subscribers. If you guys were not watching my videos, I would not be making them. Let's keep pushing to get to 1,500 by the end of the month. When we get to 1,500, I will be doing a call-in show special to celebrate. So when we get there, that's what you can look forward to. And let's just keep on pushing the number up. Once again, thank you to all my subs. And today we are going to be exploring trades, but we're not going to be looking at the trades the Seahawks could and maybe should make in the next few weeks. We are instead going to be talking about what these trades might look like, and I'm going to try to get everybody who watches this video to understand what the trade value of some of these players we might go after is, because when I stream, one thing I notice is that there's a lot of misconceptions about what we can expect to give up in exchange to get some of these players that I covet. So the trade deadline is November 3rd. It's 15 days away. Basically, at this point, the Seattle Seahawks and every other team in the league has 15 days to make a trade. So we're running out of time, but there's still plenty of opportunities for teams to make swaps. So I'm going to lead off by looking at one particular trade here. This was made yesterday afternoon. Apparently during the Jets and Bucks games, the Jets traded Steve McLendon to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's take a look at this trade real quick. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers sent the Jets their 6th round pick in 2022. 2022, guys. I want you to keep that in mind as we go forward. And in return, the Jets sent over Steve McLendon, a nose tackle, and their 7th round selection in 2023. So let's keep these numbers in mind here real quick. First, let's go look up Steve McLendon and see what he's done in his career. So we're going to go to Pro Football Reference, take a look at Steve McLendon. What is Steve McLendon all about? Well, he's almost 35 years old, so he's certainly getting up there in age. However, if you take a look at his career, if you go down here, let's zoom in a little bit. If you take a look at his career, you may find that in 2019, he had something of a career year. He started every single game for the first time in his career, all 16 games. He had 36 tackles as a nose tackle, which is pretty good. 10 tackles for loss, a career high, and a pretty solid number for a nose tackle. 2.5 sacks, and he also had a total of 10 QB pressures, I believe. So that's pretty good for a nose tackle in the NFL. And also, if you take a look at the Jets in 2019, you'll actually find that they were a league average defense. They ranked 16th in the NFL. So short version is Steve McLendon is less than a year removed from a year in which he was the starting tackle for a defense that was league average, and he put up some pretty impressive numbers. Nevertheless, he was traded for a 2022 6th round pick. So what is that really worth, though? Let's take a look at the NFL draft trade chart. You can basically get an idea of how much each team's picks are worth at this point in time based off how those teams are performing. So the first overall pick from the Jets right now is about 3,000 points. So if you want to trade for the Jets' first round pick in 2021, you need to give up 3,000 points worth. So a team like Jacksonville, if they wanted to get the Jets pick, they would have to give up their first round pick, their second round pick, their third round pick, fourth round pick, fifth round pick, and that might do it. So they would probably have to reach into their bag of 2022 picks to do it. So this just gives you a rough idea of how teams value their draft picks. So let's take a look at the Steve McLendon trade so I can illustrate a point here. The value of a 2022 6th round pick is roughly equivalent to a 2021 7th round pick. So let's take a look at the Buccaneers in this upcoming 2021 draft. Where is their 7th round pick? Because this is approximately the value of the pick they gave up to get McLendon. 4.2 points. So the pick they gave up to get Steve McLendon is worth approximately 4.2 points. Now, as for the 7th round pick the Jets gave up, which is a 2023 pick, that is essentially worthless. It's a pick that isn't going to come up until 2023. It's the 7th round. You can take a look here and see the final pick of the draft is worth about 1.4 points. So a 7th round pick in 2023 is probably worth like 0.4, 0.3, 0.2 points. It's basically worthless, but the point is this. If you add it all up, Steve McLendon was traded for the equivalent of 4 points of value, which is equal to approximately the 216th overall pick in the upcoming draft, which is right at the bottom of the 7th round. So Steve McLendon, who, according to everything I just showed you, is a capable veteran nose tackle starter, just went for the equivalent of a low 7th round pick. And the Bucs were kind of desperate because of the Vita Vea trade. So this, I think, should illustrate to everybody watching this video that these veterans who get traded, these, decent players, these capable veterans, they don't get traded for that much. Let's take a look at a few other examples of maybe some slightly better players or more high-profile players. So let's take a look at some trades that happened back in April in and around the draft. So first one I'm going to look at here is Trent Williams. The football team traded him to the 49ers. What did the football team get back? They got a 2020 5th round pick and a 2021 3rd round pick. And keep in mind, I know Trent Williams sat out 2019. He did. And that hurt his value significantly. Trent Williams would have been worth a lot more if he had played football and made his 8th straight Pro Bowl in 2019. But he still had value. He was still clearly starting caliber, still clearly worth something. And he had made 7 straight Pro Bowls before sitting out 2019. And at 31 years old, we all knew he had a little something left in the tank. So let's go back to the chart here. The 2021 3rd. Let's start with the 3rd round pick the 49ers gave up in 2021. Well, the rule of thumb is a pick a year later is worth approximately a pick 1 round later. So that 2021 3rd round pick becomes a 2020 4th round pick. So let's take a look at the equivalent pick in the 4th round. So if you go down the chart here, you can see that at the time of the trade, the 49ers were considered to be the 2nd best team in the league because they had just lost the Super Bowl. So that pick is worth approximately 46 points. The 2020 5th round pick, however, is just a straight up one. So let's take a look here. Let's see, where would that pick have landed you? 27 is 158th overall. So that pick would be worth about 27 points. So Trent Williams got traded for the equivalent of 46 plus 27, which comes out to 73 points. So where is 73 on this chart? It's right here. Right in between the 110th and 111th pick for Dallas and Miami. That is a middle 4th round pick that Trent Williams went for. So Trent Williams, a 7-time Pro Bowler who had sat out a year, got traded for the equivalent of a mid 4th round pick. And if you're going to, so if you're looking at guys like Ryan Kerrigan or even J.J. Watt and you're trying to figure out how much they're worth, keep that in mind. Trent Williams, a 7-time Pro Bowler, went for the equivalent of a mid 4th round pick. And this was during the draft. If anything, these players are worth less now because they've already played part of their contract for this year. Let's take a look at a couple more examples. Let's go to Marquise Goodwin, a player the 49ers traded to the Eagles during the draft in the most recent month of April. So what did the 49ers get when they traded Marquise Goodwin? They moved up from the 210th pick to the 190th pick. So they moved up from the middle of the 7th round to the bottom of the 6th round in approximate value. How much was this trade worth? So if you take a look, the 119th pick is worth about 14.2 points. The 210th pick is worth about 6.2 points. So the trade was worth about 8 points. 8 points is equivalent to a middle 7th round pick, the in between the 205th pick and the 206th pick. So Goodwin is not a great player, obviously. We would hope to trade for a player a little better than a guy like Marquise Goodwin, but Marquise Goodwin is 29 years old, and he almost had a 1,000-yard season in 2017, and then he got phased out of the 49ers offense. He was actually still pretty effective in 2018. 2019, we barely saw him. He's obviously nothing special, but he's a capable veteran. So if you want to get an idea for how much that capable veteran was worth, Marquise Goodwin was worth the equivalent of a middle 7th-round pick. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep looking at a couple more trades. Matt Breida also traded during the draft from the 49ers to the Dolphins. What did the 49ers get from Matt Breida? They got a 5th-round pick. They got the 153rd overall pick, which was a pretty low 5th-round pick. Matt Breida is 25 years old, had actually over 1,000 total yards in 2018, and is generally a pretty solid and pretty good back. You can go look up his stats if you'd like to. Matt Breida produced very well in 2018, like I said, over 1,000 yards, and last year he produced very well as a backup running back for the 49ers, and he was worth all of 1 5th-round pick. I'm going to take a look at a couple more here. We're going to go back to March. We're going to take a look at some of the trades that happened this month. We can see quite a few here. I'm going to highlight 2, but you can keep using this example if you want to. A.J. Bouye got traded from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Denver Broncos. Now, Bouye is another player who is at this point in his career certainly not great. He made the All-Pro team in 2017 and was very good in 2018, and then in 2019 he slipped, and the Jaguars traded him for a 2024th round pick. So that pick was reasonably high in the 4th round. If you take a look at it, it was somewhere around this 190-point area. So little bit of value there for a player who had recently been extremely good, although he benefited tremendously from playing in a very good Jacksonville defense. But that should give you an estimation for how a veteran who has proven to be very good in the past should be worth. And the final trade I'm going to look at here is Hayden Hurst. The Ravens drafted Hayden Hurst in the 1st round in 2018, and after 2 years decided to trade him to the Falcons. He was a low 1st-round pick in 2018. I think he was picked right before Lamar Jackson was picked by the Ravens. So Hayden Hurst got traded to the Falcons, and what did the Falcons give up to get him? Well, we can see that the Falcons gave up their 2nd-round pick to get Hayden Hurst. If we take a look, it was the 55th overall pick. The value of that pick is approximately 350 points. They also gave up their 5th-round pick, 157th overall. Approximate value is 27.4 points. So if you add that up, 350 plus 27.4 is 357 points. Now, the Ravens also included their 4th-round pick, which was 143rd overall. So if you go up here at the 143rd pick, that's worth about 34.5 points. So if you subtract that from the trade value, you come out to Hayden Hurst being worth 343 points. So 343 points comes in right about here, the 56th overall pick. So Hayden Hurst, who is still relatively young, he's in the middle of his prime, 27 years old, was worth a low 2nd-round pick 2 years after being worth a low 1st-round pick. So we can see how his value was cut more than in half in just 2 years. And part of that is because Hayden Hurst didn't do a ton in Baltimore, but we all knew he was a good player who just didn't fit what Baltimore wanted to do now. So they let him go. And so far this year, Hayden Hurst has been a very effective tight end. He may get to, 700, 800 receiving yards if he keeps it up. He's being productive. So that gives you an idea for what a talented, good, blue chip, reasonably young player can go for in terms of draft capital. So if you're thinking about trying to trade for a dude like Quentin Williams, or maybe Takk McKinley, or basically a player who is good and has upside, that should give you an idea of how much these guys are worth. So that's going to do it for me in this video, but my lesson here is that take a look at what recent trades have happened in the NFL and see what teams are getting in return. You could find a lot of other really good examples of what I'm talking about here. I think Jarrell Casey, who is a good defensive lineman, went for a 7th-round pick from the Titans to the Broncos. They basically gave him away. That would be another good example, but Don't think you need to give up a second round pick to get J.J. Watt. Don't think you need to give up your second round pick to get a guy like Tack McKinley or Ryan Kerrigan. It's just not going to happen. Previous experience with watching NFL trades will prove that these guys, when they get traded, don't go for as much as you would think. Now, if you want to get a superstar like a Jamal Adams, of course you have to give up the farm. Those guys are very rarely going to become available in a trade. But for the most part, when you do a trade for a capable veteran or a mediocre guy who isn't reaching his potential but still has talent, you're not having to give up that much. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, go Hawks. There will be a stream tonight during the Cardinals-Cowboys game. Maybe not the whole game, but some of the game. Come watch. We're going to have a party and hope that the Cowboys pull it out. But that's what I wanted to go ahead and put out there for today. So see you guys tonight. Go Hawks.